16 years ago, a young couple made the heartbreaking decision to leave behind their newborn triplets, believing it was the best choice for them. But fate had other plans. Now, after all these years, they finally come face to face with the children they never stopped thinking about. What happens when the past collides with the present? Will there be forgiveness, closure, or more unanswered questions? This emotional story will keep you hooked until the very end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that touch the heart. The past you tried to forget comes knocking on your door. A cold, rainy evening settled over the quiet suburban neighborhood as Eleanor set down her cup of tea, the warmth doing little to ease the sudden chill running through her. Her phone buzzed against a wooden table, the name flashing on the screen making her chest tighten. It was the adoption agency. 16 years had passed, but the weight of that decision never truly left her. She hesitated before answering, her fingers trembling slightly. Hello? The voice on the other end was calm, professional, but there was something underneath, something urgent. Mrs. Carter, I hope this isn't a bad time. We have some news regarding the triplets. Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't heard those words in over a decade. Triplets. It felt so real. She had spent so many years convincing herself it was the right choice, that she and James weren't ready, that it was better this way. But in the darkest hours of the night, when sleep wouldn't come, their tiny faces would drift through her mind. She swallowed hard. What kind of news? The silence stretched just long enough to send her heart racing. Then finally the woman spoke again. They want to meet you. Eleanor felt her stomach drop. The room suddenly felt too small, the air too thick. She gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles turning white. They want to meet me? The words barely made it past her lips. Yes, the woman confirmed gently. They're 16 now, and they've been asking about their birth parents for a while. Their adoptive family wanted to wait until they were ready, and now they are. Eleanor's mind raced. 16 years. 16 years of silence, of pushing away memories that threatened to pull her under. She had imagined this moment before, but always in the far-off future, in some blurry, undefined way. Not now. Not when she still wasn't sure how to face what she had done. James walked into the kitchen, rubbing his tired eyes. Who was that? He asked, noticing the way she sat frozen, her hand still gripping the phone. She looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. The agency, the triplets, they want to see us. James stopped mid-step. For a moment, he didn't speak, didn't move. The past slammed into him just as hard as it had hit her. They what? His voice was rough, caught somewhere between shock and something else. Fear? Regret? They want to meet us, Eleanor repeated, her voice shaking now. After all these years, James, what are we supposed to do? He ran a hand down his face, exhaling sharply. I don't know. It was the first honest thing he had said in a long time. That night, sleep didn't come. Eleanor lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts tangled. What if they hated her? What if they had spent their whole lives wondering why she abandoned them? What if she had no right to be in their lives now? The next morning, she found herself sitting at the kitchen table, phone in hand, staring at the number the agency had given her. James sat across from her, silent, his coffee untouched. Neither of them had said much since last night. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Should we? She asked softly. James let out a breath. Do we even have a choice? Her heart pounded as she pressed the button. The ringing felt endless. Then a voice, young, hesitant, but strong. Hello? Eleanor's throat tightened. Hi, this is Eleanor. I think I'm your... She couldn't finish the sentence. It felt too big, too unreal. A pause, then a shaky breath on the other end. Yeah, I know who you are. Eleanor's breath hitched. She gripped the phone tighter, her fingers cold despite the warmth of the room. You do? She whispered. There was another pause, a shaky exhale. Yeah. We've known about you for a while, the voice admitted. It was a girl, soft-spoken but firm, carrying an edge of something Eleanor couldn't quite place. Anger? Curiosity? Pain? Eleanor swallowed hard. I don't even know what to say. The girl let out a small, nervous laugh. Yeah, same. James leaned forward, elbows on the table, his expression unreadable. Eleanor could feel the weight of his gaze, but she couldn't look at him, not now. Is it just you on the phone? Eleanor asked carefully. No, my brothers are here too, the girl said. There was a muffled sound, movement, maybe a hand covering the receiver for a second, then a new voice, deeper but still young. Hi. Eleanor's heart clenched. Hi, she echoed. Another voice joined in, this one more hesitant. Hey, three of them, three voices that should have been in her home, calling her mom. Instead, they were strangers. James finally spoke, his voice rough. How much do you guys know? The girl answered first. Enough! Eleanor felt her chest tighten. And how do you feel about that? She braced herself. There was a beat of silence. Then the deep voiced boy sighed. I don't know. I mean, we don't hate you, if that's what you're asking. Eleanor closed her eyes, biting down on her lip to keep from breaking. I'm sorry, she said, the words rushing out. I don't know if that means anything after all this time. But I am. It does, the girl said softly. But we have questions. Of course, Eleanor said quickly. Anything, whatever you need to know. Why? The word was sharp, direct. It cut straight through her. Eleanor's throat tightened. We were young. We were scared. We thought we were doing what was best for you. Were you? The question hit harder than she expected. She hesitated, fingers trembling. I don't know anymore. Another pause. Then the girl spoke again. Can we meet? Eleanor's eyes shot up to James, panic flickering in her gaze. He inhaled deeply, nodding slowly. Yes, she said, voice barely above a whisper. When? Tomorrow? Her stomach turned. That was fast, too fast. But she couldn't say no. Okay. Eleanor barely slept that night. Every time she closed her eyes, memories clawed their way to the surface. The tiny cries of three newborns, the sterile hospital room, the moment she and James walked out without them. She had told herself it was for the best, that they deserved more than she and James could give. But now, staring at the ceiling in the dim light of early morning, she wondered if she had been lying to herself all along. James sat on the edge of the bed, running a hand through his hair. Are we ready for this? Eleanor let out a hollow laugh. I don't think it matters. The cafe they chose was quiet, tucked away from the main streets. Eleanor's hands wouldn't stop shaking as she wrapped them around her coffee cup, the warmth barely reaching her fingers. James sat stiffly beside her, eyes locked on the door. They hadn't spoken much on the drive over. What was there to say? Then the door opened and she saw them. Three teenagers walked in, their eyes scanning the room. The girl, tall, lean, confident, spotted them first. Her steps didn't falter. Her brothers followed, one standing slightly behind her, the other watching Eleanor and James with unreadable expressions. Eleanor's breath hitched. They had her eyes. All three of them. They stopped at the table. No one spoke for a long moment. Then the girl slid into the seat across from them, folding her arms. So, she said, tilting her head slightly. This is weird, right? James let out a small breathy chuckle, shaking his head. Yeah, it is. The deep-voiced boy, Ethan, she remembered from the call, sat next to his sister, his face unreadable. The third one, Caleb, hesitated before joining. Eleanor's throat was dry. I don't even know where to start, the girl shrugged. How about with the truth? Eleanor exhaled shakily. The truth is, we were young, we were scared, and we made a choice that we thought was right. And now? Caleb's voice was quiet, but the weight of his question settled heavy on her chest. Now? Eleanor swallowed hard. Now? I don't know if we'll ever forgive ourselves. Ethan shifted, his jaw tightening. We're not here to make you feel guilty. Then why are you here? James asked, his voice careful. The girl? Ava leaned forward, her gaze sharp. Because we deserve to know you, even if it's just once. Even if it doesn't change anything. Eleanor's chest ached. I want to know you too. Ava studied her, then nodded slightly. Then let's start. The conversation started cautiously, with short answers and careful glances. Ava did most of the talking, her voice steady, but edged with something sharp, something guarded. Ethan stayed quiet, only speaking when asked something directly, and Caleb fidgeted with the sleeve of his jacket, his eyes darting between them like he was still deciding if this was a mistake. Eleanor didn't blame them. She wanted to reach across the table. wanted to say something profound, something that would fix the years lost between them. But there was no fixing this. There was only moving forward, if they even wanted to. What do you want to know? She finally asked, her voice softer than she meant it to be. Ava tapped her fingers against the table. I guess I want to know if you ever thought about us, if you regretted it. Eleanor's heart clenched. Every day, James nodded beside her. There wasn't a single day we didn't think about you three. Ethan looked up then, his gaze unreadable. Then why didn't you ever come find us? The question hit harder than she expected. Eleanor swallowed, feeling the weight of it settle deep in her chest. Because we didn't think we had the right to. We thought maybe you were better off not knowing us. Caleb scoffed, shaking his head. You decided that for us? Eleanor flinched, and James let out a slow breath. We did, and we were wrong. Silence settled over them. The noise of the cafe felt distant, like they were in their own little world, trying to navigate something too big to fit into words. Ava leaned back in her chair, studying them. We had a good life, you know. Our parents, they loved us. Eleanor's throat tightened. I'm glad, truly. But, Ava continued, her voice dropping slightly, that doesn't mean it didn't hurt. Eleanor looked at her, and for the first time she saw it. The pain beneath the strength, the questions that had followed them their whole lives. Ethan finally spoke again. We don't know what this means, meeting you, what we're supposed to do now. You don't have to do anything, James said quickly. You don't owe us anything. Ava held his gaze. Maybe we don't. But maybe we want to figure it out anyway. Eleanor blinked back, the tears stinging at her eyes, and nodded. Then we'll take it one step at a time, however you want. Caleb exhaled, his shoulders loosening just a little. Okay. It wasn't a perfect ending. It wasn't a resolution tied up neatly with a bow, but it was a beginning, and for now, that was enough.